Hello. As I have promised, I am back with more world building. In fact, this is technically a remake of a video I've already made, but that video sucked because I was out of focus the whole time, and also for some reason when it was rendering, it cut the video at a weird angle, so half the words were cut off. And more importantly, I have more information about this topic. Okay, so this video is about magic systems, which is my favorite thing ever when it comes to world building, my absolute top tier favorite thing. Alright, maps, close second, magic systems, best part. I don't care. It's the best part in reading it, and it's the best part in writing it, and that is just my opinion. So like I said, I have made a video on magic systems before, hard versus soft magic systems. By the time this video goes up, that video will have been privated because I absolutely hate it, like I just said. And more importantly, I think that I tried to cram too much into one video, and I also stumbled across another blog post after I made it, and that changed the way I viewed magic systems and the way I view the hard versus soft magic system, spectrum. And so I want to make more videos about it and make them better and go more in depth and tackle this thing. So if you read the video title, you know that this video was going to be about hard magic systems. The terms hard and soft magic system are not my own. They are created, as far as I'm aware, by Brandon Sanderson on his blog. If you are not aware of this by now, I love Brandon Sanderson. I think he is one of the best, if not the best fantasy writer alive today. I love him a whole lot. And he is a master world builder and magic system creator. On his blog, I have it open, he has a whole post about his first law of magic. And I'm going to link it down below if you want to read it in detail. But basically his first law of magic is an author's ability to solve conflict with magic is directly proportional to the reader's understanding of said magic. So what that means simply is the better a reader understands how a magic system works, the more the author has the freedom to use magic to solve conflicts. Now in Sanderson's blog post, he talks about hard versus soft magic systems, which he claims are like a spectrum, and I very much agree. A hard magic system is one where the rules are clearly defined and well laid out, according to Brandon, and therefore can be used to solve conflicts within the story. A soft magic system is pretty much just the opposite. You don't really understand all, if any, of the rules of magic. You just know that magic exists and some people can use it. There are a lot of different kinds of hard magic systems, and I'm going to talk about that there. And I think that nothing Brandon says is wrong. I don't disagree with anything he says in his blog post. I just think there are some things missing in it, and or it's not. There are caveats I would add to this spectrum of hard versus soft magic system. And that is, I would more or less add another axis to this for rational to irrational magic system. So it would look like, it would look like an X and Y axis in, a math class. I think is a more accurate way to describe magic systems. A magic system can either be soft or hard, and then it can either be rational or irrational. Rational is not the same as hard, and soft is not the same as irrational. I think there are important differences, and so books and magic systems can fall sort of nebulously in between those two things on the spectrum, and you plot them onto it, if this was a math thing. So in this video, I'm going to talk a lot more about hard magic systems and some really good examples of hard magic systems. Like I said before, a hard magic system is one that readers know a lot about. They understand how the magic works, both the things it can do and its limitations. And it is especially crucial for a hard magic system that readers understand what the limits of magic are. By having these really solid, concrete limitations to the magic that the reader knows about, you can use magic to solve your conflicts. Because your reader doesn't feel like it's, just you use magic and suddenly it's all fixed. Because they understand how the magic system works, they understand that the main character or the person who can use magic can do X, but not Y, because X is defined inside of acceptable things that they can do inside the magic system, but Y is not. So Brandon himself says he has a preference for hard magic systems. If you have read his series, this is abundantly clear. I'm going to use Mistborn because it is the one that I would say most people have read and has a perfect example of a really well-defined hard magic system. In Mistborn, magic revolves around being able to ingest and burn metal in the magic user's stomach in order to create certain effects. So either they are a misting and they can burn one metal and use its abilities, or they're a Mistborn and they can burn all 14. This is clearly defined to the reader, so they understand that people who are mistings are only ever going to be able to burn the one metal that they have trained with, practiced with, and is established to be the metal that they can burn. This rule is never broken in the series, so it's something that the readers can trust is going to remain consistent throughout the series. Disclaimer, I've only read the first one, but I'm going to assume, knowing Brandon Sanderson, that this is a law that is not broken without an explanation. I'm going to assume that if there is ever a misting who can burn just 2 metals or something, there's an explanation for it. I don't know if. So as far as Mistborn, the first book goes, we are never shown a misting who can burn 2 metals and not all of them. It's either one or all. And if you can burn all of them, you're Mistborn. And there's no exceptions to this rule as far as the first book goes. So readers can safely assume that if there's a character who shows they can use 2 different types of magic or burn 2 different kinds of metal, that they are clearly going to be able to burn all of them. Moreover, we are clearly shown the limits of this magic. So for example, if you run out of metal to burn in your stomach, you can no longer use the magic powers associated with that metal. This is a really big plot point in the beginning for the main character, Vin, because she has to store up the metal that she uses in her stomach in order to burn the one metal she knows she can use to use her magic. She has to store it up little by little because she gets it in small doses through food and water. Later on in the story, since she's the protagonist, she is given bigger doses of metal for her to burn, so she doesn't have to worry about running out of her store. However, there are times in which she clearly discusses that she can feel she's running low on certain types of metal and is unsure how much, and she knows she's going to run out, and when she runs out, she can no longer do that. So, for example, there is a metal pair, iron and steel. Iron, you can pull objects towards your metal objects towards your center when you burn it. If the object is lighter than you, it comes towards you. If the object is heavier than you, you go towards it. This is another example of the way Brandon made this an incredibly hard magic system. Not only does this make sense physics-wise, you're like a center of gravity, right? You are pulling a magnetic force between you and a metal. If the metal is lighter, it's going to move towards you. You guys are magnetically drawn together. But if it's heavier than you, you would go towards it because of the way the magnetism works. You're lighter, you're going to move towards it. This is never broken. It's a rule that is always established. And it's clearly defined that when Vin makes mistakes on judging the weight of the object she is trying to pull, she is punished for those mistakes. There are no exceptions to this rule, and we understand the object has to be heavier and or lighter than her for the desired effect to come about. Therefore, when she goes to burn iron, the reader can predict based on what object she's trying to pull towards her, and what we can assume is how much Vin weighs as a street urchin, is whether or not the object is going to be pulled towards her, or she will be pulled towards the object. The same thing goes with iron's opposite metal, which is an alloy of iron, steel. Steel is a pushing metal, as in if you burn steel, metal objects can be pushed away from you, or you can be pushed away from metal objects. Again, these rules still apply. If the object is lighter than the person doing the pushing, the lighter object will move away. If you are lighter than the object you are pushing against, you will move away from the object you're pushing against. Makes sense. You can push a person away from you, and if you are using more force than they are to stand where they are, they will move. But if you push against them and they're pushing against you, you will move back a little bit. It's just, that's basic physics. And again, these rules are never broken. So because these rules are established, the reader understands them, and they are never broken, the reader's trust is gained that you are going to set up rules and keep to them. Then you can use these things in very unique and creative ways in order for your protagonist to use this form of magic in order to succeed in a fight or do whatever they need to do with this magic. Since the reader knows that Vin will never be able to push an object that is heavier than her away from her, the reader starts to feel that she is clever and has a lot of natural ingenuity when she uses what the limitations are and works around them to create solutions for herself. Because we understand the magic system, it doesn't feel cheap when she uses magic to get herself out of problems, because we understand that she couldn't have just waved a magic wand and poof, all of her problems have gone away. Other examples of hard magic systems are the Wave King series, the Reckoner series, both of which are by Brandon Sanderson, and are the only 3 series I've ever read by him so far. Also, Avatar: The Last Airbender is a good example of a hard magic system. And most superhero things are hard magic systems. So, Spider-Man, Iron Man, most Marvel movies are a form of hard magic system. Now, you may notice off the bat that Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn is not exactly the same as, say, Spider-Man. Those are very different forms of hard magic systems. That's because one of them is rational, one of them is irrational. I'm going to explain that in a later video. There's just way too much information to talk about versus with hard, soft, rational, and irrational magic systems. So I've decided to make this into like a 4-part series, each one dealing with a certain type of magic system, so hard, soft, rational, irrational, and sort of where different books map on this scale. Then finally, how you can create a rational magic system if that is your eventual goal. If you're here looking for how can I make a really hard, rational magic system, I'll get there and I'll tell you all about it. But for now, that's all I got for you guys right now on hard magic systems, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!